We're live on both, actually, and I'm here with Keturah. She has so much to talk about and so much to share, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, my friend, and then we'll go from there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. First of all, Heather, thank you for inviting me on to your platform. I am super geeked to chat it up with you. So I am Keturah Kendrick, as Heather said. I am a writer, an author, a reader, a traveler, a lover of people and food and fun. I exist on this planet for one reason only. My mission in life is to encourage women, particularly Black women, to live a life of intention, a life that they want,
Mm.
not the life that their mama, their pastor, their babe told them they should want, but the life that they want. So that's me.
Yes, I love that. That is excellent. That's my platform for women and queer folks as well. Is essentially the language that I use is to lead from embodied joy, to prioritize joy first, and then everything else works out better from there. So we have to know ourselves really well to lead with embodied joy. We have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to demand that we get the rest and the space and the support that we need. So those things just match up beautifully. And I think it's been a minute. I was just telling Katura that this summer's been a lot of play and rest and very little work, which is, I love being an entrepreneur because I get to do that. Um, so my memory could be a little bit wacky, but I believe that I first met you at the Feminist Podcaster Movers Pitch Fest. Is that right?
Yes, yes, that's
Yes.
exactly right. Exactly right. Yes.
Excellent. I love being part of the Feminist Podcasters Collective. I love the Black Woman Pitch Fest specifically. Like, it's such a meet the most incredible people. And so I'm glad that we met there and we connected. And this is you've just started Substack just to come hang out with me here, right?
Indeed. I'm really bad. I feel like every few years there's a new
Yeah.
platform you have to go on. I've been on Patreon for a few years. I'm like, I don't want to move everybody over there to Substack. So I got on a Substack account for you, Heather. Yes.
Well, I feel honored, but I hope you'll hang out. It's funny, gosh, when I first started podcasting back in 2016, I think. I had a Patreon, but I didn't do very much with it. I found Patreon to be hard to wrap my head around, and a lot of people use it. So I think it was a me issue, not a Patreon issue. But I challenged with it, and I love Substack because it kind of, for me, it's kind of like using an Apple computer versus a like a PC computer. It's built in a way
Mhm.
that's more logical to my brain.
I get it. I get it. And just when I joined up just this morning to do this to do this interview, I can see that the interface looks a lot like IG and social media accounts. So some of the things that one would do as an author, as an entrepreneur, as a content creator,
Yeah.
it seems much more intuitive on here. I will say that. So I might move
Yeah.
over for real.
Well, come on, hang out. Just play around and check it out for a while and hang out. Okay, so give us a little bit of background on you and how you ended up doing this incredible work. And the original invitation was specifically for the Reading Well, but I always share this with both of my audiences because there's a lot of overlap there. And the Reading Well focuses on books and publishers and all of that stuff. But yeah, give us a little of your background.
So I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. Spent much of my adulthood in New York City. I moved to New York when I was 26. Left New York after probably about 20 years living there to move abroad to East Africa and then China. Went back to New York and
Wow.
then stayed in New York for another 4 or 5 years. And just within this last year, moved to Lisbon, Portugal. So I've been in Lisbon, yes, for a little over a year. I moved last May. So, one of the things that I discovered in all of this trajectory from hometown of New Orleans, the beautiful, which I like to refer to as my first love, to New York City, the love of my life, to even overseas in the many countries and continents that I've lived on, I learned that who I was, which I thought was a very simple thing. I didn't think my life was a political statement, but apparently it is. So when I was knee high to a grasshopper, I can pinpoint it at sixth grade when I was 10 years old. I knew just as much as I knew I was Black and a girl. I knew I would not be a mother. I knew motherhood was not for me. And
Good
I
for you.
remember the age and the grade because I remember being in sixth grade on the playground and these girls. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, the Bible Belt. They were playing this game where they talked about what they would name their future daughters. And when it got to me, it was just like if someone said, "So, hey, how do you like having black hair?" Oh, well, how do you like having blonde hair? I was like, "Well, I don't have blonde hair. I have black hair." So when it got to me, I was like, "Well, I'm not going to be having daughters or children, so I don't know how to play this game." And I remember the girls and our teacher was was nearby. Both were just like, Psh, as if I said, "I'm going to eat
You'll
little
change your
children."
mind. Yeah.
You'll change your mind, or my favorite, "You're too young to know," which was weird because we all were the same age, but they were saying that they would have children, but no
How
one
did they
said they
know?
were too young to know that
Yes.
they would be mothers. So I remember that moment because for the next 40 years, whenever this came up, I was always, eventually I got used to it, but I think in my 20s and 30s, it was always so unsettling for me or surprising me for people to react to what I thought was a simple statement, as if I was either making this huge declaration of insanity or brokenness or bitterness. And especially if I had to end a relationship because the man I was with wanted to be a father. And I was like, well, it's been good. I wish you well. You'll be a good father to
And I'm
someone with
sure
someone
you
else.
told him up front that you did not want that.
Exactly.
I'm sure he knew that.
Exactly. And when friends are like, you gonna break up with him because he wants you don't have kids that bad, which also sort of connected to also I knew pretty early on as a young woman when I started dating because I date men, and it became clear to me within my first few dates that in order for heterosexuality to work for me, I'd have to be able to go to my own home at least 5 nights a week, and I'd have to be able to end a relationship without hiring an attorney. So I knew almost instinctively too that legal marriage cohabitation would not really work for me as a structure.
I
So
love your
those
self
two
awareness.
and I just knew it. And it wasn't, again, it wasn't anything big to me. I didn't piss on people who got married. I went to many weddings and was happy for the couple, danced and drank. I think I was in a wedding or two. I don't hate babies. I mean, I taught children for 15 years. My
I don't
favorite
hate babies.
is I don't hate babies. I
Yeah.
don't. I taught children for 15 years. So I don't have anything against children. It's just I just don't want them in my house like all the
It's okay.
time.
Yeah.
Um, and
I
those
have
two,
children and I don't want them in my house all the time.
you're like, I understand. So those two, what I thought was just simple choices that an adult makes, have throughout the world piqued so many people's interest. And I
Yeah.
think by the time I made it to East Africa, and it became clear to me that I am an unusual because when I was in East Africa, I turned 40 when I first moved abroad. I was an unusual woman who had made it to 40 and didn't see her not having a ring or a child as a sad
A
thing.
failure. Yeah.
Exactly. And it would come up in so many instances, especially because I was in Rwanda, where people would like say, I'm going to pray children on you. And I'm like, please don't do that.
Oh,
Or like,
don't
I
threaten me.
or I'm gonna pray for Jesus to find you a good husband and you gonna have children. I'm just like, what does Jesus have to do with this? It's my womb, it's not his womb. Why Jesus in my womb? Like, so throughout all my travels, even if I was not necessarily in because much of sub-Saharan Africa is very Christian and religious. But even when I was traveling in different parts of the world in Europe, that's often considered to be more open and progressive, it still was a curiosity to people. And
Yes.
that informed so much of what I wrote about when I first started blogging out here in the blogosphere, when I became a more full-time freelancer and I pitched stories to different publications. There was always at the core this idea of a woman intentionally choosing not to do what women are supposed to want to do in order to find joy. And that choice not to do those two things being the core of why she lives a life that is absolutely blissful because doesn't, she didn't allow the world to tell her what she should be. And I discovered in my writing and my reading, I wrote a book about it and going on book tour, that there are some women who did what they're supposed to do who never thought about it.
Who never
and are
realized they had
surprised
an
that they aren't
option.
filled with it.
Yes. I love every single thing that you just said, and all of it is true. And when you said what they were supposed to do to bring them joy, like, I feel that so deep. One of my one of my favorite book quotes of all time, and I'm a pretty avid reader, a couple hundred books a year, is from Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. And the line is, people cannot dream of things they've never imagined.
Mm. I read that book too, and I don't remember that line, but that was a good one.
I
Yes,
I
yes.
probably reference it weekly in some form or fashion because we don't realize how much we've never imagined. I didn't come out till I was 38. And it's funny because
Mhm.
I knew gay people existed. I knew gay men. I didn't know any gay women. It just legitimately never occurred to me that that was what was happening. It felt different. I didn't know what it meant. And, it's
Mhm.
kind of a strange thing. But I did know that I wanted to have kids. I always knew that I wanted to have kids. Um, I so admire people who don't. My oldest daughter says, never, I never want to have kids. And now now she's got a boyfriend and now maybe they talk about it. But she used to say, like, I can get my tubes tied at 24 and I'm making the appointment as soon as I can. And I didn't say anything. I just looked at her and she goes, "And don't say, what if you regret it?" Because other people have asked her that.
Of
And she said,
course.
"If I regret it, then there are other ways to have children." Fair enough. Right? Like, it's not my choice. It's not my life. It's hers and it's yours. And I think the decision to, like, you should not. No, there are so many people who shouldn't have children. And I
Oh
mean,
my,
obviously, I
a
think
large number.
you would have been a great mom if that's something you wanted to do. I can already tell. But so many people who have children who didn't want to have children and forcing that on them. But this concept of women not realizing that they have options, because so many people don't. So queer folks too, like, we think we're so stuck in this silo that we can't see our way out of it until
Mm,
maybe we see somebody like you or somebody like me
mm,
who opens up just a sliver of a crack to say, oh, maybe it doesn't have to be like this. Like, maybe I can make different choices that feel better for me or have more joy or travel. I know for a fact, if my life hadn't led me down the path of having children, I would be a nomad like you are. And in fact,
mm.
I just got back from Mexico City on Sunday night. I took my daughter to see Harry Styles and we had the best time ever.
Oh,
And I just posted on Substack, the more I travel, and I've always loved travel, the more I don't like being home. My soul is so filled with joy. And I love my house, I love my city, I love my family, I love Chicago, but
mm,
I'm so filled with joy when I explore new places and new people and I try new things and I open myself up to something that's so different than what I do all the time.
yes. Amazing, beautiful. And I love what you something you said to me really sits with me now. That first, the Noah quote that we what was it again? We can't
We can't
imagine.
dream of things we've never imagined.
Exactly. We can't do things never imagine. And this idea of the choice involved in any of these things, the choice involved in whether or not you are going to live in the sexuality that feels most right to you, the choice involved in whether you want to be conventionally partnered, the choice involved whether or not you want to be a parent. One of the things that was all which made people's reaction to me so confusing when I was a younger woman, um, was this idea that I was clear it was a choice, and I had made that choice after doing, in my humble opinion, more thoughtful, deep analysis than people who made the other choice. Because one thing that I can say, it used to get on my damn nerves when I was younger, but the whole why not? You may change your mind. All of that inquisition forced me to have to really query myself. Like, am I bitter? Am I broken? And I had to really examine why I did not want conventional partnership in motherhood. When you do what you're supposed to do, nobody asks you a damn thing. So you don't
Isn't
think
that
of it.
interesting? It's what you're supposed to do. When you follow the stereotypical path, no one challenges
Exactly.
you.
Nobody
Yeah.
questions you. They may question who you're doing it with, They may question when you become a mother, but the questions of being conventionally partnered and becoming a mother is not something people ask you why you want to do it. And so when people react to me in ways like I thought I really was saying, I'm going to go and discover the ninth planet, when I would just say, I don't really want to be married. I don't want to be a mother. Like, that's all I would say. And people's reaction eventually made it clear to me, like what you were just saying, they don't think of it as a choice. You don't have to do any of this. I tell some of the young girls that I mentor who come to me with their boy problems and all that stuff, like, you ain't got to do none of this. You ain't got to date. You ain't got to date men. You ain't got to have no babies. All you got to do literally is stay black and pay taxes. That's all the only two things that are required of you in this life. And to
My
see
mom,
them just stop and be like, what?
what? My mom used to say, all I have to do, the only thing I have to do is pay taxes and die. That was it.
Exactly.
That was it.
That's the third thing.
Like,
And then there's death, right?
it
So
was,
and when and especially when I started writing about this and doing content about this, I started a blog probably in maybe '08, '09, somewhere before in the early 2010s. And I wrote about this a lot. And it was so wild to me how many times I would have conversations because of what I wrote about. People would slide into my DMs, or people I knew in real life would timidly start these conversations with me. It was wild to me how people say motherhood and parenthood is one of the most important jobs you've never had, which I agree with. But they don't think about that shit at all. Like, I just don't. I just had this baby. Like, I didn't think that hard about it. And when you don't make the choice, you think a lot and you observe parents. You
yeah.
observe, especially women who procreate with men. You look at their lives, you look at the workload, and you see, oh, wait a minute, I don't even want to do this, but if I do this, most of the labor will fall on me for something I don't even want to do. Like, I was clear. So when my homegirls eventually started having children and would sort of complain to me about what their husbands were not doing, I used to be like, we were at the same church picnic when we saw all those men over on it. Like, y'all didn't see that, and then the mamas was over here. Y'all didn't see when they
Doing all
came
the
us.
work. Uh huh.
Yeah, y'all didn't see
Uh huh.
that. Like, I saw that clear as day.
Yeah.
It's
Some,
it's interesting that for a lot of folks, it's this big, huge, life altering decision is not thought of as a choice, and folks just kind of don't think that deeply about why they want to
yeah.
do it.
Thinking deeply feels like the crux of all of it, right? Like, taking the time to reflect on what we think and what we feel and why we think it and why we feel it and what other people are telling us is a yes or a no or a maybe or a has to or it can't ever, like all of that. I remember when my oldest daughter was about 11, she asked me, Mama, do I think the things I think because you think them, or do I think them because I think them?
Oh
So she's a
wow!
little bit like
Oh,
you. Now she's the one that says she
ooh!
doesn't want to have kids. And
Yes, that one there. That one there. She been here
eh,
before. She been
and
here before.
yeah, and I said, "I don't know. What do you think?" And she said, I think I start believing things because you believe them, but I might not stay that way." And I said,
Mm,
"Yeah." I said, "Just whatever you do, don't quit thinking about it. Don't quit questioning whatever it is." That's so
mm,
important. Like, we have to question, and not in a
absolutely.
bad way. When I say we have to question ourselves, I don't mean that we shouldn't trust ourselves, because obviously we should, but understanding
Hmm.
our own internal motivation for
Hmm.
things, for why. And the Reading Well publication, I share the books that I've read throughout the month, but then I do these interviews with authors that don't, maybe you're not necessarily getting huge global traction or whatever. Not that you don't deserve it, of course you do. But I I talk to people sometimes who I want to write a book. And I'll say, why do you want to write a book? Because I've written a book and that's hard. And I didn't write a novel. I wrote nonfiction. I want to write a
Yes.
novel, but I'm not sure that I have the qualifications to do that, even though I have a creative writing degree. And sometimes people will say to me, I don't know why I want to write a book. It's just a thing I've always wanted to be able to say I do. And I think that's fascinating because this is hard fucking work. So you want to know why this is important to you. What is it?
Mhm.
And it's fine if the answer is because I want to prove to myself that I can. I think that that's fine. But what are the results you're
Valid.
looking for? Will you
Mhm.
be disappointed if people don't like it or don't read it? Like, what's the motivation? So, what led you to writing your books, and share a little bit about what your books are all about?
Oh, wonderful. Well, actually, my first book, No Thanks, Black, Female, and Living in the Market Free Zone, was getting to leaving the US as a resident to live somewhere else. I had traveled to many other countries before I actually moved abroad. Leaving the US in 2014 and moving to Africa. And then I think it becoming clear, oh, my life apparently is a political statement. And my realizing how long I held on to thinking I was crazy, because even in quote unquote progressive cities or forward thinking cities and countries that are known to be very left leaning and progressive, the idea of a woman choosing my life as opposed to her, it happening to her and her just finding a way to make peace with it, really left people curious. And
Yeah.
it occurred to me that I spent, it tickles me when I say this now, Heather. I spent a good 35, maybe 40 years waiting to want what I was supposed to want. I waited patiently.
Even though you knew you didn't want it, you were still
This
waiting
is
for it. Oh,
how
that's
deep it is.
fascinating.
This is how deep it is. I waited. Can I tell you, I in my early 30s, I was pre-anxious for the moment when my biological clock would tick and then it was too late for me to have a baby and I'd be upset. I was pre-anxious. I was like, I wish I
Wow.
would want this shit sooner so I can just go ahead on and do it. I waited for the men who I dated and the few I fell in love with to have this urge come over me to have him in my house, to be a wife, to nurture him and build him up. I waited for like a good 40 years. And then when I moved to Rwanda, and people, Africans ain't got time to cut corners, they ain't got time to play around. They say shit with their whole chest. So when people say it right out to me, my landlord in Rwanda said this to me: "You have no husband, you have no children. What happened to your life?"
Wow.
In my Morgan Freeman voice, it was then when the first draft of No Thanks was written. Because it occurred to me, if I had had no thanks when I was in my 20s, I would not have felt like a freak of nature. I would not have felt alone. I would not have been
Mm,
quite literally holding pre anxiety in my body to regret, right? If I had just read some Black woman's documentation of this didn't just happen to me. I didn't forget how to get to try to get a husband. I didn't wait too long and I couldn't afford IVF. I didn't want either one. And I thank every God, Buddha, Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah, thank God every day, and Prophet Muhammad that I stuck to my guns, right?
yeah.
So
And
I
every goddess, right?
every goddess, everybody out there, spirit, burning sage, whatever, right? I thank them all that I knew what I wanted and who I was early on. So that is sort of what led to me writing No Thanks. I wrote a second digital book called And You Know This, Lessons on Living from Young Folks. So that was a
Mm,
compilation of conversations I had with six women and a one non-binary person about what it meant to leave your youth, your late teens, early 20s, and to head into full-on adulthood, and how the
interesting.
chaos of youth like primes you to be able to handle adulthood. And because one of the things that became clearer to me, especially as I was promoting No Thanks, and I was getting feedback from I got a lot of really positive feedback from women who made similar choices to me and also women who made the conventional choices. One of them actually saying to me, if I had read your book when I was younger, I may have made different choices. Um, so I had gotten, it became clear to me how much I enjoy being able to engage with young people and how much their knowledge of the now and the world now inspired me. And I just wanted to have this conversation with them to see what is it like to be a young film presenting woman in today's world. So it's a compilation of lessons that I learned from some of my young mentees about what it means to be young and how to sort of forge yourself into an adult who can live with intention and purpose and do what she knows is best for her. I can't hear you.
There, there
Yeah,
you
I can hear
are.
you now. Now I
Okay,
hear you.
sorry
Yeah,
about that.
it's okay.
Um, somehow a call broke through my do not disturb, and then Siri was talking in my ears, and it was the technology sometimes
Yeah, a
doesn't.
lot
Okay,
going on.
I know, right? I love that. You know, gosh, the chaos of youth into adulthood is so interesting. And also, I think there are so many things that we can't really come to terms with until we've had enough lived experience to go, no, that really is not the end of the world. That is really doesn't matter,
Indeed.
really doesn't matter what everybody thinks. And then you get into perimenopause
Ooh,
and
child.
the hormones
Ooh,
changing,
ooh,
and that hormone that tells you you're supposed to care about everything that just disappears.
which is a blessing. That is the gift, I will say. The gift
Absolutely.
of pairing.
It just pulls, it just removes the veil. And I get it. What's fascinating to me about it though is the anthropological understanding of it for the
Mm,
perpetuation of the species, right? Like we care about those things. We have that biological clock, some of us, like all
mhm,
of that. It happens without consent, like to care about what everybody thinks or being nurturing or do all of that. And then when we no longer are of an age where we're capable of doing that, we get to recognize we can get rid of that baggage, right? Like it's
mhm.
unnecessary. And um, I've always called it a midlife catharsis
I
versus
love that.
anything else.
I love
Yeah,
that.
because,
I've been referring to it as a reawakening in some ways, but a
yeah.
catharsis is even more, I think, precise. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
It's cool, right? And I am so grateful for women like you who are sharing out loud your own lived experience and your own journeys and joys and helping people again see that little sliver of hope and possibility. I host retreats all over the world. We had one earlier this year in Costa Rica, and it's funny you say Portugal because Portugal is I can't it won't go away. I feel like that's where I should do the next retreat. It just won't
Yes. Listen,
go
it's a
away.
beautiful country. It's a beautiful country, gorgeous, and there's so many options for a retreat. So many little towns, and yeah, this will be a
Yeah,
perfect
I
retreat.
wanna do it. And then I was in Mexico City, and I was like, and the city is crazy. It's busy, busy, busy. It was really cool, but there are little surrounding towns. I'm like, "Oh, I could do a retreat here." I just wanna be everywhere. I just wanna be everywhere doing
Mhm.
things all the time. And meeting folks like you. I have a friend who I also met through the Feminist Podcasters Collective, who happens to be another Black woman who never got married, never had children, who moved to Mexico City, and she was like she's about our age too, we're the
Mhm.
same ages, and was like, I'm gonna go. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go out and explore. I got to have lunch with her, which was so fun. It's just so inspiring to see other life possibilities, even
Yes,
if you have gone the more traditional route. Um,
absolutely.
you're not, and I I love being a parent, so I don't use the word stuck like that, but you're not stuck in only one path. You have options. Your children grow up. They
Yes.
leave, I have always admired travel and doing my own thing, and so I have prioritized that. I got divorced about 12 years ago,
Mhm.
and I do my stuff and my children see me go out and live my life and come back. And I think sometimes they don't love that. I think sometimes they wish I were here all the time, but I
Mhm.
believe I'm showing them that they can prioritize themselves and still be good at the other things that they want to
Most
do in
definitely. I
their
think
lives.
that's especially important for girl children to see a mother who doesn't define herself only by those roles, to know that she is a
Yeah.
whole person, because I do think that that baton of suffering and sacrifice has been passed down generation to generation by mothers who I think weren't intentional in being able to show their children, especially their children, that this is one role. It's a very important role in my life, of course. This is one role, but I come first. And I feel like in my conversations over the years with mothers, it's hard for them to say that. They feel guilt, um, but to actually say, no, I come first, because who else is supposed to come first? Like, and as a woman who doesn't have children, I have no qualms about saying, because it makes perfect sense to me. But I think when you have children, when you have taken on a spouse, that's the whole benefit for folks who want to have a spouse. The benefit is the payoff for having to compromise and not centering yourself, is that you do get help in certain situations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think women who have taken on those roles feel guilty about saying, especially when it comes to motherhood, no, I come first. I have to take care of myself before I take
Yeah.
care of you. It's very difficult for them to say. And I can see how once the children become older and more independent and leave the nest, how actually I have a friend now here in Portugal who is going through that. They're just sort of like, what do I do? What do I do now?
It is a really wild point in your life because you have built so much of your identity around this, and then
Mhm.
to figure out who you're going to be when it changes, and being a parent to adult children, young adult children, is so different than young children. The way that they need you is different, and
Mhm.
all the things that made us good parents when they were little is the opposite of that, that make us good parents when they're older,
It makes
right?
you
We have to
annoying.
step back. Exactly, right? We have to step out, we have to step back, we have to let him go and let him experience. And it's really interesting to learn. I don't know, parenting is interesting because I just tell my friends who have younger kids, like, you are just not gonna get it right. You're just not. Like, not that you won't be a great parent or do great things, but they're gonna be mad about something. They're gonna complain about something. You're not, doesn't matter. Just do your best and recognize that sometimes that's not enough. And that it is just
Mhm.
what it is. But I like that theory in life, especially for women and especially for queer folks. And I have never been a Black woman, but I would imagine it's very similar. Is like, you can only just do the very best you can do and hope that it's enough. And when you learn that it's not, you can gather more information and you can reassess who you want to be in this moment and how you want to be in this
Absolutely.
moment and do something different. That is the best we can do.
Absolutely. I think that what the way I think of it in reference to my life, and also when I have folks reach out to me who've connected with my work in some way, is I don't believe that there's such a thing as a wrong choice.
I love
I
that.
believe you look at what's in front of you, and you only can see as far as your eye can see, and you think about your resources and you access the ones you have resources to, and then you make a decision on that. So it can't be wrong. It is only what you saw and what you had access to.
Yes.
So in a
Yeah.
few months, a few years, you see more stuff, you have more access, then you make a different choice. It doesn't mean that other choice was wrong. You didn't see nothing but what was in front of you. You didn't have access
That's
to
right.
X,
It's just
Y, and Z.
a choice, make a different one.
Yeah, so just make a different choice. I think
Yeah.
there are different choices. But I think a few years ago, an older woman who's a mentor to me broke that down to me. Like, I was like, that is exactly right. You're right. There, you just do the best you can with the
Mhm.
information you have and your abilities at the moment you make the choice. This is all I was able to muster when I made this choice. I'm stronger now. I'm different now. Whatever. Now I'm making a different choice, but I couldn't because I didn't
Yeah.
have the capabilities then.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's so powerful. And the gift that gives people who are really willing to receive it, this unburdening of responsibility for having made mistakes or failed or not
Mhm.
done it right, is um I think so much of that self-forgiveness is required for any positive growth or change. What is on the horizon for you? You've got these wonderful books out. I would also love to hear before we end about your writing and your publication process. But what is on the horizon for you now?
That is a great question. Right now, I have a 6-month fellowship with a lighthouse. It is a publication that is actually based in Jackson, Mississippi, and it covers the interior lives of Black Southern women specifically. So I'm
Amazing.
writing for them regularly. I'm working on some really important pieces. I've been pitching to so many outlets for so many years with no response. So I'm working on some really important stories for the lighthouse. I am in my pre-writing stage. Now, I don't know how the MFA program defines pre-writing, but pre-writing for me means I'm thinking
Me
about some stuff.
either.
I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about
Got
ideas
to
for my
start
next.
there.
Just thinking about it. I'm thinking about an idea for my next like official real book because my second book, and you know this, is I think it was more of a digital product. It's a short digital collection for folks who have young people in their lives and they want to know how do I reach these young people, right? So for
Yeah.
my next like big book, I'm conceptualizing a nonfiction book that queries and studies and analyzes loneliness,
Mm,
specifically the way we frame it and demonize it as a bad emotion. And
I love
then
that.
for me, because again, you know what my theme is, my core is, and how we then assume that it's only a cross the unpartnered have to bear. And the way to shun loneliness out of your life forever is to find you a man if you into men, or a lady, find your romantic partner. That's the way to shun it out. So I'm conceptualizing a analysis and a deep research on this emotion, and for social scientists who have studied it, and particularly the way we have assigned the word crisis to it, which can apply in some situations, but there are shades of loneliness. And I think oftentimes people just feel it and want to chase it away when it's there for a reason. And then, like every other emotion, it's just proof that you're human.
Yeah,
So I'm sort of conceptualizing
that's
what that looks
great.
like. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And when I get to out of my pre-writing stage, I'll put some stuff down. But for right now, it is publishing articles, think pieces, if we're
Okay.
still using that phrase, think pieces on a bunch of different topics that center the lives of Black women in the States.
Beautiful. I love that. That's such powerful, important work. And the loneliness stuff is really interesting. I have always, since I was a very young adult, really loved being alone. I don't
Mhm.
get terribly lonely.
Mhm.
Um, I can. There can be moments, and of
Of
course, you can
course.
be lonely in a partnership or a marriage. You can be lonely in a room
Mhm.
full of people.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot to be curious about that. And I have a certification in positive psychology, and one of the things that it teaches us is the importance of recognizing all of our emotions and being curious with them, and rather than judgmental. And
Mhm.
what is here for me to learn from this? What can I know about myself if I'm honest about this emotion versus just immediately judging, oh, that's bad. I don't want that. Must change, must fix. So I'm
Mhm.
so glad you're out here doing this work. And I do hope you'll bring some of it to Substack. Even the lighthouse stuff, you can always reshare it and repost it and
Yes, yes, I
all of
will.
that.
We were talking about before. I'm going to get on a Substack bandwagon eventually. I've been holding off. I'm going
Well,
to
we're following
tinker
each other,
around.
so I've been
Yes, I'll
keeping an
tinker
eye out
around.
on it. And if I get myself to Portugal, maybe we can meet for coffee. I would love that.
Most definitely. Look, Portuguese love sitting in the park for hours and having coffee or wine. So listen, I'm an expert at just sitting in a cafe and talking shit for hours in the middle of the day. I'm good at that.
Sold. Sold. I think that sounds amazing. It was such a pleasure to get to spend a little time with you today. Thank
Oh,
you
of course. Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
And let's
you.
stay in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.